G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. It's Tuesday, it's news day. This week we've got Super Rugby Round 15 to talk about. The Heineken Champions Cup happened on the weekend and Tonga announced a huge team list for the Pacific Nations Cup. So let's have a look at the news this week. So first up, Super Rugby, the Rebels beat the Highlanders on the weekend. This was the most disappointing thing I've ever seen in my life. I was extremely angry after the game. So basically, the Rebels had an opportunity to eliminate the Highlanders from the final rounds, elimination rounds next week. And they had an opportunity and they just decided, nah, we're just gonna win. Yeah, if they beat the Highlanders by 8, they would have eliminated them. But instead, the Rebels had a penalty at full time, and they just decided, nah, we're leading by 31 points to 30, and we're just going to end the game. Despite the team talking about helping, eliminating Highlanders and helping the Western Force going through the finals prior to the game, they just decided, nah, enough is enough. We're happy to just take the 1 point and win. You know, screw you, Western Force. And yeah, I was extremely happy. I was so angry. Yeah, this team should just be removed from Super Rugby, and most of these players should just be fired. And some of the players I guess have Wallabies talents, just should be moved to other teams, because at the moment the talents, the good ones are not getting better, they're getting worse. And the trash ones are just sitting there wasting everyone's time and money. As a fan, I'm just wasting my time watching this team play every week. And I mean, if someone's paying me to watch this game, I would be reluctant. Depends on how much money they pay me at this point. So to ask me to pay my money to watch these people play is just absolutely preposterous. They're absolutely the worst team in Super Rugby. These players have no heart, no gut, have absolutely no pride on their profession. They just a group of absolute losers. Every week I watch this team. Anyway, I don't want to get another rant on this team, but I think the Rebels should be removed. It's pretty disgraceful what they did on the weekend. This was actually pretty bad, considering that I was reading the news today on Rugby Pass, where I get pretty much most of my news from. There is no mention of the Rebels on the weekend. This is the only article that mentioned the game, and you can read the title. It says there will be a few surprises. They're talking about the match next week against the Blues for the Highlanders. It didn't even mention the Rebels, and the Rebels are only mentioned as like a little subplot in this whole article. So there's no mention of the Rebels on Rugby Pass news this week. So you can tell how bad this was for even the news to report on it. It's just like absolute embarrassment of Australian rugby the Rebels was on the weekend. So anyway, let's move on. Some pretty, big news came out of the Crusaders on the weekend. So Richie Moana has signed a 1-year extension to the Rugby World Cup next year with the Crusaders and New Zealand Rugby, and he has expressed interest to move overseas after that for at least 2 years. So he's literally saying that he's looking at going overseas after the Rugby World Cup, and he's most likely going to go to Japan, but he wants to explore elsewhere. He's basically saying that he's been living in Christchurch and Canterbury for his whole rugby career. He wanted to go overseas for a while, maybe 1 year, but he's looking at most likely 2 years overseas. Yeah, Richie Moana will be gone. So, and then there was Ian Foster. Sir Fozzie was on the breakdown talking about some of the weaknesses and how he sees the All Blacks traveling at the moment. So he did talk about the centers being an issue, that he hasn't been super impressed. I do feel like the center position has talent for New Zealand rugby, but it's definitely not as dominant as they used to be. And there's quite a few key injuries that's really hurting them a little bit, with Anton Leonard-Brown, and maybe Rico is a bit injured as well. So the All Black center is an issue, and as a result, Sir Fozzie has talked about some of the key things that he felt like the All Blacks are falling behind, or at least the other teams are catching up to the All Blacks, which is the speed and skill. I thought these are pretty valid point. The speed of the game that the All Blacks the speed of the game that the All Blacks likes to play isn't like they're not slowing down by any means. It's just that the other teams, especially the northern teams, are starting to play that more faster paced style of rugby, like from France and Ireland. They're just catching up to the game, and I do think the big issue for the All Blacks is their centre. There isn't really a dominant centre combination like the All Blacks used to have for pretty much as far as I can remember. So the centre field dominance from the All Blacks is really lacking at the moment. They don't have a Sonny Bill Williams or Maya Nonu that can bust the line and really hurt the opposition in centre field. They just I think Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is someone that's quite good at that from his league days, but he still has a lot to learn in terms of defense, kicking game. David Havili, he's been working on his kicking game at the Crusaders, but I just never feel like David Havili is that big of a line buster. He's not really that big of a threat as a ball carrier. Rico is really good at outside center as a ball carrier, but his injuries, and again, he still needs a bit of work to be really up there as one of the best. I can see Rico and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck being the All Blacks starting maybe for the World Cup next year, but at the moment in 2022 feels like it's still a bit premature. But yeah, we'll have to see how Surf Aussie manages that. They got Ireland coming up in soon, and that'll be quite exciting. So as the Japanese finals were played on the weekend, the Robbie Deans has secured a 5th title with the Wild Knights. They beat the Suntory Sunglythe on the weekend, 18 points to 12. The Sunglythe has D-Mac is in it, and the Wild Knights has Corin Betty and Dylan Riley, who used to play. I think Dylan Riley used to play for. Now he's currently playing for Japan, but he used to play in Australia for a bit. But Corin Betty is probably the biggest name for the Wild Knights. I think also Karevi is in the Wild Knights. But yeah, that's the results. And the one thing that probably worth noting is our Folau's team was dropped to the 2nd tier. I'm surprised that Japan has a tier 2 division and Australia don't. Yeah, that tells you something. So Israel Folau will be playing the 2nd division next year because his team got dropped. Also, this is the big Heineken Cup or European Champions Cup was played between Leinster and La Rochelle, and La Rochelle upset the 4 times champion Leinster to make a historical win over the Irish side. And this game was actually an interesting one. I had a review on it if you want to watch it on my YouTube. But Leinster has a lot of the Irish national team in their lineup, and for some reason, despite going into the game having average scoring 6.7 tries per game, they really did not pressure that fast-paced advantage that they had, the fast-paced attacking rugby that they have with Johnny Sexton on the field. They just opted to take the penalties every opportunity they got. They end up kicking 7 penalties and to lose to La Rochelle 3 tries and a penalty. And La Rochelle scored a try in the dying minute and a half of the game to snatch the win. Yeah, so there's a saying that in Australia, you can't beat the All Blacks by kicking 3 points. But this kind of rings true for the Leinster team. They maybe squandered way too many opportunities, let La Rochelle off the hook way too easily, way too many times. In the end, you came back to hurt them. All that territory, all that possession, just walking away with 3 points is probably not enough. In fact, there was one point in the game where La Rochelle got a yellow card, and the Leinster still kicked 3 points instead of going for an attempt for a try for a more, especially when that yellow card player was a lock. Yeah, so this was really disappointing for Leinster. And coming to New Zealand, just remember, you can't be the All Blacks by kicking 3 points. You guys going to have to work a little bit harder than that. So also the Super Rugby again, Blues has managed to secure the 13th consecutive win. And this was another really, really crazy game. The Blues basically put on their tier 2, the B team against the Waratahs. And the Waratahs look like they're really firm in control for like most of the game. And the Blues just slowly got themselves together. And yeah, in the second half, the Waratahs look like they really tried to rush a lot of things. When the Waratahs structured their attack, it looked really good. And the Wangani Tawase scored 2 beautiful tries based from like, you know, just good line structure from the Waratahs. But yeah, second half, it looked like the Waratahs was trying to rushing it, and they just kept crashing the ball too much maybe. And then in the end, the score was leveled at 17-17. The Blues had a chance to kick off after the penalty goal was scored to level. Had a kickoff following a penalty goal by the Waratahs, and Waratahs just look really like kind of rushed a little bit with the clearance kick, and the Blues just slowly built faces inside the Waratahs half, got themselves in a good position, and another drop goal win. This time Zan Sullivan kicks a drop goal, and this was a pretty far one too, like further than the one Bowden has to kick, like almost 40 meters out, 35 meters, drop goal, just slotted flush, and clutch, you know, steals the win for the Blues. Another huge upset on the weekend as well. The Moana Pasifika beat the Brumbies, and this was no one expecting it. This was a really, really, really bad performance by the Brumbies. Don't really know what else to say. Moana Pasifika just really wanted the game more. They had an early yellow card with Sakobi Kefu getting sent off, and instead of, you know, trying to run down the not yellow card, it was a red card actually. It was a red card. So instead of like running down the clock waiting for the player to come back on, they took the Brumbies I think they scored 2 tries or 1 try whilst they had a player in the bin. Yeah, I don't know how the Brumbies could struggle so much, and in the end, you know, Moana Pasifika just pure passion and grit beat Brumbies. This was a really disappointing performance by the Brumbies. Really don't know what else to say. Moana Pasifika really played well this game, played with a lot of heart, and that blue and red jersey, the 2 games they've won, they wore this color, looks really good. I hope they wear this color permanently from next year onwards, and yeah, it was really, really cool. And then we have the Chiefs beating the Fijian Drua 35 points to 34. It says 24 here, but it's actually 34 by 1. This was like one of those games where Fiji was down and out looking like, and they scored 3 tries again in 10 minutes in the the final stretch of the game, and almost beating the Chiefs. I had a mistake on my review. I said there was one point where there was a kickoff, and then one of the Drua players smacked the ball. He was like standing on the sideline. He smacked the ball in field, and then Quinn Tupea catches this ball and then runs through, offloads, and sets up a try for his teammate. And I was really angry. I thought the ball was out when the player touched the ball while standing on the sideline. But apparently, a lot of you guys thought so too. But apparently, according to the law, the actual law from World Rugby, if a player is standing on the line, as long as the ball is not crossed the line, he can slap the ball. He can slap the ball back in field, and it's not out. He can touch the ball, and the ball is not out. It will only be out if the ball was above the line or beyond the line, beyond the field of play. So the fact that he slapped the ball down before the ball actually reached the sideline, the aerial space past the sideline, it means that the ball was not out. Regardless of where he was standing, it was not out. So sometimes you might see the thing where the player catches the ball with the foot in touch. That's a different thing. That is out on the full. So that's like a special law. But if you smack the ball down, like the Fijian player did, before the ball actually traveled past the sideline, it's actually not out and play on. So the referees actually made the right decision. So I was wrong, and I look like an idiot. Yeah, not always right. So And also some news from Fiji. Onesi Ratave, the winger, number 14, he signed a 2-year deal with Japan. With Benetton in Italy. So yeah, good on this guy. He's gonna be getting quite a bit of money. That's moving up in the world, I guess. Next up, we've got the Western Force beat the Hurricanes on the weekend. Again, huge upset at home. The Western Force really played their hearts out. Again, this ties into the Rebels, not really helping them go into the finals. But the Force really played well. There was a bit of funny moment in this game, I guess we can talk about, where, what's his name? What's his name? The New Zealand guy. Anyway, one of the, God, I can't remember his name. Anyway, the Rebels beat the Hurricanes 27-22 at home. The Hurricanes looked like they were firmly in control early in the game, especially in the first half, but slowly and surely, the Western Force just crawled themselves back and hung in there, and then eventually squeezed out a win, 27-22. This was really, really impressive. The Hurricanes tried to make a comeback in the dying minutes, but they were not able to get there. There was a bit of a knock on, and there was all game over. But yeah, next up, we've got the Quade Cooper. He's doing a bit of a trip in America at the moment. He's been spotted at LA club last week, and this week he's been spotted at the New York Rugby United New York club. So he's been traveling from the west coast to the east coast, and been training with his teams, wearing their jerseys. And interesting. Maybe it looks like he's probably thinking about making a move to America, to to Major League Rugby, to finish off his career. This is something that a lot of players do, and it's good. If he goes to America, it'll be a really, really good fun time for him. Next up, we've got so this was during the Crusader versus Reds game. Pablo Matera picked up Jordi Pasea in the ruck and threw him onto the ground, and it looked like it was very dangerous. It should have been a red card. The referee really made a bad decision here. He's only got a yellow for this. Like you can see, like this was pretty horrendous. Jordi Pasea could have broken his neck if it had gone if he had gone a bit wrong. And Ben O'Keefe, a lot of people have cited the Sam Gilbert dumping Michael Hooper in a similar incident the week before where he got a red card. And like a lot of people, it's just really not understanding how this decision was made. Like, head collisions nowadays is a red card, like accidental head collisions now a red card. Yet this is, this clearly dumping people on the ground somehow is considered this was really bad. Considered a yellow. So no one knows what Ben O'Keefe was thinking. This was really bad. And as a result, you can see here, right? Not this one. What was I looking at? As a result, the Crusaders beat the Reds on the weekend. And this was a game that I thought was really not worth. Yeah, this was sort of like a weird game because the Crusaders and the Reds are the two teams already confirmed for, I guess, this upcoming weekend's Super Rugby finals. So they already have another game going to be played in Christchurch like the next week. So during the week that was played, this final round that was played was just like a weird thing where both teams were kind of just making a lot of mistakes. The Crusaders did able to steer home a quite easy win, but it just felt like, like both teams had the game that was gonna happen this weekend in mind, and both teams weren't putting 100%. The Reds was not really performing to, definitely not looking like they're performing to their best. There was a lot of drop balls, and a bit of a scrappy game, and also the Anyway, next up, Spain is trying to appeal their 2023 Rugby World Cup disqualification. There was one of their players being caught like making fake visa stamps to say that he had been living in Spain long enough to qualify for Spain. Yet he was like posting pictures of himself on Instagram, traveling around Europe, having a good time. Quite a stupid thing to do. So he was actually not qualified to play for Spain due to the traveling that he's done. But yeah, and then there was like alleged tampering of the passport to make him look like he has stayed in Spain, but you know his Instagram was showing him traveling around overseas. So they're gonna try. Spain's gonna try to you know, appeal this decision. But yeah, second time in a row, Spain's getting disqualified from the Rugby World Cup because of players' eligibility. So as we just looked at, Sam Gilbert, who made the tackle on Michael Hooper here, is getting a 5-week ban for that, and Pablo Matera's only got a yellow card. So he's probably going to get cited after the game and potentially get banned as well. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Pablo Matera, but that was just a really, really, really bad referee decision. It was horrendous by Ben O'Keefe, like the worst, one of the worst he's done. Ben O'Keefe is actually getting worse. So let's look at the big news. Tonga has announced their team for the Pacific Cup that's going to be played against Australia A, Samoa, and Fiji. And they have announced Israel Folau, Charles Piutau, Malakai Fikitawa, and some other big names from Super Rugby as well. Like William Havili, he plays for the Moana Pasifika. Yeah, like some really huge names in this Tonga team. That's going to be extremely exciting to watch for the Pacific Nations Cup. So yeah, we'll have to see how they go. And this team will also potentially be playing the qualifying cup games to get Tonga into the Rugby World Cup next year. They still haven't qualified. And if they are qualified, they'll be in the pool with Springboks, in the pool of death with Springboks, I think Ireland and Scotland, I believe. Yeah, so they're going to be a really super pool of death with Israel Folau. I'm actually a bit excited to watch Israel play Australia against Australia A. It'll be quite fun, I think. Next up, we have this bit of a thing that came out. Maori Itoje has come out and stated that he's not going to sing Swing Low, Swing Chariot anymore. It's kind of like the unofficial anthem of the England rugby team. So in Twickenham, they sing this a lot. So apparently this song was written by like a slave who basically talks about wishing to die and go to like a different world because of the because of slavery, how bad slavery was for him. So as a result of the background of the song, Maori told you, it's like he's not going to be singing anymore. The RFU, which is the RFU, had a look at the review of this song. They decided to just remove the lyrics and officially stops endorsing it around the stadium. But they're not gonna like ban the song from the fans. So yeah, there it is. You know, we can't have anything nice in the modern world. Some news from South Africa. Francois Steyn has decided to stay in South Africa with the Cheetahs instead of moving to Japan. That's pretty big because Cheetahs is pretty big because he's probably gonna make more money in Japan. But he's decided to stay in South Africa with his friends and family and with his good old team Cheetahs. Yeah, staying really good. And apparently he sent a text to tell his Japanese club he's not going there anymore. Anyway, next up. So this is the anniversary on this. This was like on 25th of May. This was just over the last week. Was also the infamous moment where Wayne Barnes was called a effing cheat on field by Dylan Hartley, and Wayne Barnes gave Hartley a red card, and Hartley was banned for 11 weeks. And he couldn't go to the Lions tour. That was so stupid. But yeah, apparently Hartley still claims that he wasn't directing it at Barnesy. You can watch this on YouTube. It was just like one of the most bizarre things. The game was happening. Suddenly Barnesy's like blows his whistle, puts out a red card on Hartley, and he's like, and he can hear it on the microphone, and he calls me an effing cheat, and he just sends him off the field. It was like, everybody was just like mind blown. This day. And Barnsley was the referee at the Heineken's Cup, the European Champions Cup referee finals as well. So yeah, what a day that was. And next up we have Western Force actually last week on Tuesday beaten the Moana Pasifika in a quite convincing win as well, 48-28. And yeah, that was a big turnaround. Moana Pasifika actually rested their starting team that played to beat the Brumbies on the weekend. So both these teams have played 2 games last week. But yeah, the Force, 2 wins in 1 week, and Moana Pasifika get themselves a redemption on Brumbies. That's, you know, pretty good week for both teams last week actually. And finally, the last bit of the news, Villiers, the Gabin Villiers, the French international, will not be playing in July against Japan as he sustained an ankle injury. He's one of the best players in the French backline at the moment. He's a really good try scorer, and so be interesting to see. So he's not going to be playing in July. That's basically the end of the story. Anyway, guys, that's all the news this week. Let me know about your thoughts of the Tongan selections. With Israel Folau back, are you excited to see him play again? I'm kind of a bit curious. I want to see him play. And especially against Australia A, that'll be a bit of interesting game. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. And thank you for being here. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later this week for reviews. And cheers.